Hi, my name is Gabor, and today I would like to speak to you about how to protect, how to save, and how to preserve the value of your money during war times. I know that everyone heard about this situation going on in Ukraine, and everyone knows that it will affect or already affected our global economy. But first, before we get into the tips about saving your money's value and preserve your investments, I would like to say some words to you. So please support the families, the children from Ukraine. Please support them because they need help. They need everyone's help. How can you help them? You can donate money. You can give food. You can give your clothes. You can basically give them anything that would help them in this situation. So please, if you can donate some money to help them, if you can bring some food, bring some clothes if you live close by. Anything you can give, if it's money, if it's clothes, if it's food, you will ease their suffering. We have to help those people. We have to help those children. Thank you guys. So now let's check out my tips. So here is my first tip. Keep some emergency cash. So if you haven't seen my first video explaining to you how to efficiently save your money, here you will see the video. And basically I say that you should have an emergency fund to be able to deal with emergency situations. And what do I mean by emergency cash? So in these war times, when we don't really know what will happen with the global economy, we already know that there will be side effects. There will be economical slowdown. There will be recession. We already see that some of the products, some of the agricultural products, some of the commodities, the oil, the heat oil, they will rise. So the prices will rise. And it means that it can lead to serious inflation. And it's always better to have some cash aside with you that you can access it right away, you can take it right away, and you can use it. So if you have emergency cash, it means that if you have already emergency fund, I think you should have at least half of it in cash for now, just in case. So if you have 6 months of emergency fund, I would suggest to keep 3 months of expenses in cash, just in case. Because if anything happens, if the war continues, if the effects of the war will be much worse than we thought, the banks can limit your withdrawals from the ATMs. The banks can limit your access to your money on your bank account. So it's always better to keep some cash with you in these times. And of course, let's hope that it will end soon. But if it doesn't end, you should always have some capital with you. The second point is that you should be aware of your country's economical situation. So if you are from an Eastern European country, you can already see that your currency is weakening day by day. Why is that? It's because the investors are turning to safer assets. They are turning to safer economies. They are turning to safer countries where they can invest their money. And because of these, many projects will shut down in those countries where the investors see more risks. And that is why those currencies will weaken. So it's always better to check the situation. So for example, if we check here the situation in Hungary, the Hungarian forint is weakening. It's weakening day by day against the euro, against the US dollar, against the Swiss franc. If you check the Polish currency, the same case, it's weakening day by day. If you check, for example, the Georgian currency, you can see the same case. Obviously, if we check the Ukrainian currency, we will see the same case. So that's why I'm suggesting that we should always check the situation and maybe change our currency to a stronger one, which will keep the value of your money. The next point is about the stock market. So if you are an investor, if you have some shares on the market, you have to be careful in these times. Let me tell you why. So what I did is that I was checking my portfolio, I was checking my companies, because in this case, you always have to think about the future. You always have to think about that your companies that you are invested in, what kind of relationship may they have with this situation. If they have investments, if they have projects going on in Russia, in Ukraine, or maybe we can check also the Eastern European countries as well. What kind of investments projects going on? Because they can affect their projects. So the war can affect their projects, the war can affect their selling capabilities, their cash flow, the war can affect their value. So you should check their subsidiaries, you should check their investments and projects, what kind of capital they have invested in those companies. If you think about it, we can say that these sanctions on the Russian economy, it will slow down the economy so much that those companies within this economy, they won't be able to pay their obligations. They won't be able to pay their invoices to the suppliers. They won't be able to grow. They won't be able to produce their products what they already plan to. So that is why it can be a huge side effect on the global economy. And that is why I would suggest you to check your investments. If there is a company there which can be affected so much by this war, by this economical change, by this recession, maybe it's a good thing to think about to sell those shares. And on the other side, there's, of course, as an investor, we all know that if any big event is going on in the world and it's changing the global economy, there are always good opportunities to buy companies, to buy shares, to buy stocks. And what I do also, I keep some capital aside if there is a good price on my favorite companies on the stock market, because it can be that because of the fear of the people invested in the markets, they just sell out good companies as well, which are not really affected by this war, which are not really affected by the supply chain of these countries. And it can happen that there are really good buy opportunities on the market. So that's also to be considered. The next point is also an investment opportunity. If you know the Ukrainian market, if you know the Ukrainian economy, they are among the top countries which produces grain, wheat, corn. They export to the European Union, they export basically globally as well. And the percentage of the global export of these products are really high from Ukraine. So because of this war, obviously the supply will be reduced, and because of this, the prices will go up. So I'm checking the commodities ETFs, I'm checking the agricultural index funds. So I'm not saying that you should go to some market and buy, I don't know, 2 tons of wheat or grain and 2 months after you sell it with a profit. No, I'm saying that on the stock market you can find some index funds which offers investment opportunity into the agricultural products. So these index funds are basically projecting and following the price of these agricultural products. The other side of these alternative investments is cryptocurrency. So if you check it here, you can see that many of the cryptocurrencies are performing very well in the last couple of days. And it is because the cryptocurrencies are independent from the governments. They are independent from this war. So that is why it is considered right now as a safer investment as some of the fiat currencies out there. So these were my tips on how to manage your money efficiently in these circumstances, in war times, in a possible global economy recession. Please, if you like this video, if you find it valuable, subscribe to my channel and like this video. And please also leave a comment. And please guys, don't forget to support the innocent people in Ukraine. Take care guys. Bye bye.